Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Every few months or maybe every 6 months I would kind of do an update on my recovery with bulimia. I have been anorexic and bulimic in the past. It's been like 5 years since I recognized that, and I've just kind of been in recovery since then. Well, not since then, but like I've been, you know, the awareness started, self-therapy, and now I consider myself fully in recovery, so I just like to make little videos. When I say I am bulimic, I do not mean that I've thrown up my food. I never vomited. I abused laxatives pretty badly for a long time. Super into excessive exercise. I was super underweight in high school. I started training for a bodybuilding competition. And I put on a bunch of weight, which was great. Basically, the training and the work put in was just so hard on me psychologically that I just ended up having this horrible relationship with food afterwards, and I ended up abusing laxatives and got into this thing which I think is called CS or CHSP is the abbreviation for it, and I ended up very malnourished because of that, and I was scared I was going to get osteoporosis and all kinds of things. So anyway, that has ended, and that's what I am in recovery for. So the definition of bulimic, it is not just exclusive to throwing up your food, it's exclusive to purging your food. I think addiction's addiction and it's all the same. So anyway, so that's my recap. In 2020, I made a conscious decision to start reverse dieting. A reverse diet for me was where like my metabolism was so slow that if I ate more food, I would put on weight, and so I consciously decided to reverse diet to speed my metabolism up, which is basically, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's where you're gradually increasing your calories until you can eat the amount of food you're supposed to and have a healthy body. And so I successfully did that in 2020, and I'm currently in the healthiest relationship with food I've ever had. I'm the most sober from that kind of thing that I ever have been. I'm the furthest away I've been from a relapse in a really long time. I asked on Instagram and in my YouTube community page over the last week just questions you guys had on like mind, body, health, specifically things about recovery, eating disorders, relationships with food, my advice on mental behaviors and things like that, and so I do have those questions in here. First, I'm going to go through just things I've noticed about my body throughout the journey and my mind, so mind-body improvements throughout my last couple years. The first thing for me was just nobody cares as much as I do. Like, I was never scared of people thinking I was fat. I was never scared of people thinking I was too skinny. I just really didn't care, and I've never cared what other people thought. It was just me being super critical of myself. Something else I noticed throughout this process was that my appetite has just skyrocketed. Like, I'm so hungry all the time. I eat so much food now, and I don't feel guilty about it, and I don't gain weight from it, and that's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful thing. Food is just so much more enjoyable to consume when you're hungry for it, rather than just eating to eat. Another thing I was able to do in the last 6 months is I actually removed sugar from my diet for 2 months, and it pretty much cured most of my cravings, I would say, which has been the hardest thing for me, was like sugar and sweets. That's like all I want to eat. I don't know, it's so hard because you watch YouTube videos and you try to like learn from other people's testimonials, but it's so individual and so hard to believe until you're actually doing it. So I don't know if this video is even going to help anybody, but if nothing else, it gives you some insight on, you know, my life and how I'm dealing with it. Okay, time for the question and answer. Do you have any tips against negative self-talk? Just remember that everybody's got flaws, and you measure your own on a different scale than you would anybody else's. So, you know, you have a standard for yourself that nobody else has, and while it's good to have high standards, just remember that everybody's got issues, and there's no way around that. How to get motivated and confident to work out, and I got a lot of questions about that, so I'm just kind of gonna answer this one. I think it depends on your reasons for having low self-esteem. Again, I just think a lot of the insecurities that people have are just so self-absorbed, and you know, no one's really looking at you when you're at the gym. Anyone worth your time should not be sitting around criticizing you, should be focusing on what they can work on. And if they're not, then just don't even think about it. It doesn't matter, that person has their own issues that they're going through and they're projecting them on you, and it's not your problem. I think confidence comes with breaking through that low self-esteem. So I think you have to do things while you're insecure about them to get to that confident side of you. there's no way of like doing things secretly before anyone else can see it and getting good at it and then coming out in the public eye. Like, I think a lot of us wish it was like that, but the reality is that's not how you build character. Have you ever gone to therapy for your eating disorder? I haven't. I've actually recently thought about it. I think just where we are out here, we're very isolated where I'm living right now, and it's really cold here, and I think I get a lot of seasonal depression, and it just kind of, you know, you just start thinking about things that you would normally think about, and tendencies like tend to pop in your head and things like that. And so I've thought about therapy for those reasons. I think I'm more likely to go to therapy for other reasons than I am for my eating disorder, to be honest. Would you ever consider being a personal trainer? Yes, actually. So when I was in high school, I did online training for a lot of people, but then I developed my disorder, and I kind of had this mentality of like if I can't stick to this, if I can't be diligent about this, or if I'm living this unhealthy lifestyle, how can I be a spokesperson for everyone else to be healthy? That kind of drove me away from it, and I did look at certifications when I was about 18 years old, and I've recently looked into it again. So I would consider that later down the line, especially because I could get a job anywhere as a personal trainer, and I would love that. If you could track deep in your past, could you find the origin of your eating disorder? Honestly, I'm gonna say probably not, because I've tried many times, because I mean, you know, if anybody's ever had any issue with addiction across the board, don't think about this as just a video about eating disorders. This is a video about addiction because it all feels the same. And I know this because I went to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting with someone one time, and it was such an eye-opening experience because I could relate to everything they were talking about, and I knew that obviously none of them were talking about disorders or like eating disorders, and that was really eye-opening for me. So I don't think I can track back to the origin of it. For me, the reason I started running when I was 13 when I started running, and I did P90X when I was 14 years old. And the reasons I did those things is because I can remember looking at musicians and performers and thinking none of them looked like me, and like none of them were a 13-year-old in their awkward phase, you know. I should have thought about that, but I didn't, and I remember thinking that, and I was like, okay, well, we do whatever it takes, and that's just kind of how the mentality's always been. We do whatever it takes, we do whatever it takes, and it kind of turned into this like sadistic satisfaction out of pushing my body to a place where it wasn't supposed to go. And I thought that was discipline. That was like the ultimate discipline. Instead, it's discipline as hell, but it's also got its own side effects. If anything, the origin of it was just me as a kid looking at musicians who are the whole package, and I just was a 13-year-old in my awkward stage and wasn't really like thinking about it. How do you avoid purging when every time you eat you want to throw up? I would say track your calories, which I know is like a lot of people say not to do because you're supposed to be intuitively eating and stuff, but I've tracked my calories for the last 10 years of my life. And for me, I don't mind feeling full if I know that that number is not going to make me gain weight. I would say track your calories, because I think if you're a girl and if you're a boy too and you're eating 1,000 calories a day, there's no way you're gonna gain weight eating 1,000 calories. It's just not gonna happen. So if you're having trouble with feeling like you're gonna throw up every time you eat food, I would say track your calories and get 1,000 in every day. There's no way, scientifically, logically, it's just math, there's no way that you are going to gain weight on 1,000 calories. And I would start there and get used to that and work your way up. And that's kind of what I did, and that worked for me. Pretty much and everything that I wanted to cover. I enjoy being very transparent in these videos about this kind of thing. I know a lot of people are going through eating disorders, and that like coronavirus has made things pretty hard. But I'm so excited because I decided about a month or two ago that, like, you know, we moved here and I kind of feel like I don't have a lot to do here. There's not much to do, and I don't like spending my time on the internet every day, even though I'm like an internet sensation or whatever people want to call me. I don't really like spending all my time on social media, and so I'm constantly trying to find other things to do. And in this scenario, I've just found myself to be like kind of jumping back into like being a fitness junkie and stuff in the best way possible. And so I was looking at hiring online trainers, and I actually just hired my trainer from Texas, who I'll put a little photo of her. Her name's Jess. She's really nice, and unfortunately I was still in a really negative headspace when I trained with her a few years ago over the summer. But But I'm gonna do online training with her, and I know that I could lean out without hiring her, but for me, this is just my way of making sure that I don't overdo it, that I don't do anything crazy, and the way that I don't end up back in old habits, because I feel really good right now and I just don't want to mess that up. Maybe I'll include some of that, like make a little mini series on that too. But you guys just let me know if this is of any interest to you, if you guys would like to see, like, just, I'm talking like once a week mini series of just like a video of what I'm doing health wise and like a weekly update and stuff, just so you can see how that's going. And yeah, I think that's gonna do it. Please leave your comments in the comment section on what you guys want to see next, and thank you so much for watching my videos and showing any interest at all in this. Okay, bye.